305 on the mouth. Hey. All gas, no brakes, we attack. Hey. Hey. Turn it up loud right now. Hey. Hey. 305 Sport now. Hey. Hey. 305 Sport now, we lit in Miami. Talking heat, talking fins, whole city around me. Panthers on the ice, crowd roar like a hurricane. All gas, no brakes, we burning up the whole lane. 305 Sport now, say the name, don't doubt. We're right on with the takes, yeah, he break it all down. From the court to the field, every play, every sound. 305 Sport now, yeah, we run this town. Miami nice, but we up in the day. Breaking news, big moves, every highlight play. Dolphins in the zone, end zone going wild. Heat flame high, every bucket, every smile. Panthers in a rush, blades cut through the cold. Hurricane, wind spin, orange, green bolt. Will Padron got the stats, got the smoke. All gas, no brakes, every topic he spoke. 305 Sport now, say the name, don't doubt. Will Padron with the takes, yeah, he break it all down. From the court to the field, every play, every sound. 305 Sport now, yeah, we run this town.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. I am your host, Will, and today's going to be a very, very, very fun topic because, well, we get to troll the Florida Gators a little bit and also talk some recruiting as well, both for this cycle and the next upcoming cycle as well. And the individuals, we're still missing one more, right? He'll be on shortly. But the individuals I'm going to bring on today, they need no introduction, no introduction. Wow, my word salad today is crazy. All right, starting off first with the host of Cafecito Cane. You guys know him as John. What's up, brother? How's it going?
Doing it fantastic, sir. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good, man. Can't complain. I'm off tomorrow. No summer school for me tomorrow, but definitely some World Cup fun Saturday with with England playing. Is that my country again? Norway. How you doing, brother? Everything good?
Yeah. No, can't complain at all, man. Got the weekend coming up. Just kind of enjoying the summer, enjoying the off season, and excited for football. We're under 60 days away.
Yeah,
so that's cool. It's right around the corner, man. Before we know it, it's going to be like a week, 2 weeks away, then a week away, and then we're kicking off in Stanford. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, no, so I'm super excited. I'm super excited for it to happen as well. And of course, the gentleman, this other needs no introduction, my lifelong friend Q from the famously named I Hate Football podcast. Where'd he go? At the stage. Trying to add him on here. There we go. Q, what's up, brother? How you doing?
What's going on, boys? Everybody good?
Yeah, very good. We're waiting on Geo to come on right now. Geo should be on in a couple minutes because we have a lot to talk about, especially a little bit of conference realignment, also some recruiting as well. But Q, how's everything going, man? We haven't seen you on in a while.
Yeah, man. Everything is good, bro. Everything's good. So we were talking, off camera. The last thing I was on really was the draft coverage with all the guys from Finn's Talk and all that. So, yeah, man, it's been a little bit kind of a, I don't know if I intended, to be on hiatus, but, the season ended and, other things were happening and going on. And then sports wise, man, it's just been really easy to, just, kind of follow the World Cup and, just hanging out, man. So, haven't really gotten anything for the last few months or last couple months, I guess. But yeah, man, time to end the streak. We're Allen Bailey days away from kicking off the season, right? 57 days now. So, just like John said, man, we're gonna blink and it's gonna be like a week, and then before you know it, man, it's game day and right back to it. So happy that it's gonna be here real soon.
Yeah. Well, Juan Manuel, of course, in all our chats has
he's going
little
hard
fun
already, bro.
with John, man. Are you a real Cuban? Okay,
he got like 17 questions on there.
He does as well. Que Bustelo of Pilon, right, as well, of course. And then you have, we're still waiting for Geo to hop on. Well, first things foremost, actually, no, this is not one of the questions. The Gators cousins may start looking at dating guys at Miami, take away their cousins and future wives, mothers of Gators. Okay, a little fun there with the Gator fans as well. I can't answer what Geo ate today, but I can tell you I had fettuccine alfredo for lunch and I just had a Chick-fil-A sandwich. So that's my take. So, gentlemen, during the conversation, what'd you guys eat today? Starting first with you, John.
What I hate when people ask me this because then I always have trouble remembering. I don't know why if this happens to you guys. What did I have? I had eggs for breakfast.
Okay.
Damn it. Pasta, beef stroganoff for lunch that my wife made last night, so it was left over. But fantastic. And pizza for dinner.
That's always good, man. Can't go wrong with pizza. Cute. What about you, bro?
Breakfast. What I do? Some eggs and some ham, some toast. Lunch. I went with. What the hell did I have for lunch? Dude, I think I had like a protein shake or something for lunch.
Okay.
Because I had a late breakfast and then dinner. Just some leftover. I'd done some ground turkey and had a salad. I went super light for dinner, man. So nothing too terribly exciting, really, at any point today.
Okay. All right. Well, before Gio can hop on, hope everything's okay with him. Nick Adams does have a question, and we'll save it for him. And of course, Harry says poodles dress in gator costumes. Okay. So last week, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode is because there's been a lot. Obviously, it's kind of a downtime because don't really have visits and stuff like that. And fall practice hasn't really started yet. So there's been a lot of just fun topics being shot around by us in general. I did one on Bryson Wright recently. Okay. And of course, John had me on as well. We talked a little bit about recruiting the team as well, to say the least. And Donald's, doing his thing with, the best wide receiver combination, right, as well. But one of the things I wanted to talk about today, Gio, how's it going, bro?
Wait a second. I can't hear anyone. Hold on.
Okay.
1 second.
Yeah.
Audio is acting strange.
John and I had similar experience about it. Okay, here you go.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you perfectly fine, Gio.
Yep, I can hear you.
Hear you.
All right. I guess he's figuring that out.
Gio, can you hear us?
No, I don't think he can hear us.
No, you can't hear us at all.
Keep going.
Okay. All right. So one of the things I wanted to ask you guys, and then when Gio's able to fix his audio, we'll get into the conversation about it. Is last week, Gio, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry.
Okay.
Something
Perfect.
connected to the Bluetooth and everything. It went out of whack for a moment.
Okay. Well, perfect timing. But before we start, we all did this. Okay. Juan Manuel wants to know what you ate.
What I ate today. So we had Mexican food today, actually.
Okay.
So I had chimichanga.
Nice. You can't go wrong with that. Okay. So one thing we're talking about is that there is some downtime. Okay, as far as Canes coverage goes, just a little bit because there's no practice and recruiting is in a dead period as far as visits go and stuff like that. And you had a really good conversation on well, you're not the only one. Others have done it as well. But you had a really good conversation about a couple weeks ago on the CANESville podcast. And because of Joe Echeverria kind of like opening the pot for us on the Joe Rose show in general about conference realignment. And basically, the conversation he had with Joe Rose was that Miami's open to the best, offer contractually speaking, is what he talked about. You and I mean, you being the host and me being in the chat, had a pretty good back and forth about Miami SEC versus Big Ten. Okay, you think Miami academically and athletically would fit better in the Big Ten. Because of climate in general, and also I think it'd be fun to play Georgia and Alabama every year, pick the SEC. I did a similar episode, Gio. 80% of the fan base is on your side. Most people believe they either want us in the Big Ten or they hate the idea of the Big Ten. It's kind of like both, right? In general, to say the least. But you made an interesting point about the fact that even if Miami wanted to join the SEC, and this is where we get into the topic of today's show, the SEC would not want two Florida teams, and Florida would probably veto us getting in there. So, Gio, can you explain the whole scenario and how that would come about?
Basically, when it comes to like Florida and their sentiments about Miami potentially being in the SEC, they would not be too happy about it. They're also grandfathered in very deeply within those roles within the SEC where they would have a first right of refusal for a team being added to the conference. The SEC also, they've tapped into that Florida market. I wouldn't say entirely South Florida market because South Florida, there's definitely plenty of us Cane fans out there. Mm-hmm. But they have they still have a large fan base still within the South Florida area, the Tri-County and whatnot. But for the most part, yeah, Florida wouldn't be happy about it. So there would definitely be pushback from there. And I do know that a program like Alabama wouldn't be too happy about Miami being in the SEC either.
Okay. Would it be because Miami has been poaching a lot of, I won't say poaching, but they've been recruiting very well in that state? And being in the SEC would kind of like would kind of further Miami's momentum?
Yeah. Look, I've always said this. I felt that the ACC was kind of hindering Miami a little bit in terms of recruiting, that sometimes guys would have that SEC bias. But funny enough, you see the last two national champions are from the Big Ten. You know, the SEC is not the big bad SEC anymore. To me, though, yeah, at least when it comes to like Alabama's stance on it about not wanting Miami in, I think has a little to do with that. But Florida is just a long-standing thing where they don't want to be competing with Miami for that media market, for being that Florida market for the Southeastern Conference. Big Ten would absolutely love to have Miami, though, in that market. They want to tap into that Southern market.
Yeah. So let's be honest, and I think we all could agree on this panel. Florida's scared. Let's just be totally straight. Florida's scared of losing the market. Florida's scared of losing recruits. Florida's just plain out scared of playing Miami every year. Let's just be honest about that. The Gators do fear the Miami Hurricanes. Let's just be frank.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I'll give the Gators credit in the fact that they're more willing to play Miami in basketball. But when it comes to football, like even when it comes to the scheduling of these games, like Florida was trying to push crazy stuff onto Miami. This predates Dan Radakovich. We're talking about when Blake James was the athletic director, that Florida was trying to get hey, you know what? We'll get 3 games at the Swamp and we'll go 1 game to Hard Rock Stadium. Like, and there was some pushback on that from Miami. They're like, wait a minute, what? Why would we want to take that type of deal? And Florida's whole thing, they were trying to push, well, you know, the fan attendance and everything for Miami. Here's the reality. If Miami's playing a team like a Temple or a Central Michigan, yeah, Hard Rock Stadium's not going to be packed out. But if it is a marquee matchup, time and time again, even if Miami hasn't been that great on the field, the people do show up for the marquee games.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, I totally agree with you. All right, now I'm gonna ask the same questions to John and Q. Like I said, I picked the SEC for various reasons in general. I do understand the Big Ten argument. It's not like I think it's a horrible idea. I do understand the reasons why. My only thing would be playing it in the frozen tundras, you know, every single late November and December. That's only my thing. But John, what do you think about Miami possibly joining the SEC and the Big Ten? And which conference do you favor, if you favor either or?
This has been a conversation for a few years now, and I've always kind of leaned towards the Big Ten just because, I mean, for a few of the reasons Geo mentioned, like, for example, I think the Big Ten would want us there, and I think it would be a good relationship, and I think it would be a great contract too, great TV deal and all that stuff. But it would kind of bring up old rivalries again, like reignite old rivalries with Penn State, you know, be facing Ohio State regularly. Michigan has been a dream matchup for years, like one of those that, man, I wish we could play. USC has been a dream matchup for years. Oregon. So a lot of cool matchups and a lot of fan bases that travel well. And you wouldn't have those conference games against the Dukes and Virginias and teams like that will draw 35,000 because let's face it, there's much better things to do on a Saturday afternoon in Miami. You know, could just watch the game on TV or something. But take out Duke, Virginia, NC State, take those teams out and insert Ohio State, Michigan State. Like, those have fan bases that travel much better, and it's a lot more marquee games. And also Miami has proven, if, you know, especially in this last playoff run, we can hang with the big boys. Not only hang with the big boys, we're beating the big boys. Not only beating the big boys, really, you go back and watch those games. We left so many points on the table. All 3 wins in the playoffs should have been 2 or 3 touchdown decisive victories. So I've leaned towards Big Ten, but I can be swayed to the SEC for some of the same reasons I just mentioned. The fan bases that would travel, I think it would be really cool. College game day would be here quite often with those matchups, like us and Texas and Oklahoma and Florida. I'd honestly be fine with either one. I see the SEC as a bit deeper, like the middle of the pack conference teams are like better than the middle of the pack of the Big Ten, I think, overall. But I think either one we'd be fine. And also about the cold weather, really, you're just playing 2 cold weather games, maybe 3 tops every year. And who's to say that one of those cold weather games isn't Rutgers or something like that? It doesn't mean you're going to be facing Ohio State in Columbus in November necessarily. It could be USC in November. So you're not guaranteed to be playing 3 games in the tundra against a top 5 opponent necessarily.
Okay. All right, Q, what's your take?
Man, there's a lot to unpack there, boys. I mean, listen, if we're talking geographically, for me, I live in the Metro Atlanta area. Selfishly, I would take the SEC, right? I mean, in terms of where we stand currently, the ACC, again, for me, works. I can get to a lot of places really quickly from here. Obviously, I know I have no say in the matter. But again, geographically in the SEC, I think there's a lot of stuff, and a lot of games and matchups. I think that would be attractive. I mean, again, we've had great games versus Tennessee. Obviously, the Florida games over the course of however long. We talk about Alabama and the matchups we've had with them. And then igniting, these new rivalries, right? Texas, A&M. Obviously, we played now, a few times. So I think there's, Ole Miss, so on and so forth. There's a lot of great matchups that I like in the SEC. And then geographically, right, you're able to get to, again, it's the Southeastern Conference, right? The majority of the teams you're able to, to get to within a couple hours, right, in terms of a flight. So there's a lot to like there. The Big Ten, all right, you guys mentioned a lot of the teams that we've got extensive histories with, right? We also didn't mention Nebraska, right? Big time history with them, even though they're not exactly at the, where they want to be right now. They're definitely not at the top of the Big Ten. I think they're kind of struggling overall for various reasons. I think Wisconsin, somebody, I think IMAX, wrote there in the chat, right? We've got some history with them. So I think honestly, man, across the board, it's kind of a wash really when you consider who it is that we'd be able to play, right? I think there's going to be great matchups on either side, but again, I think, monetarily, right? If everybody's looking at what we'd be bringing in, the Big Ten is kind of where I think you want to be right now, right? I mean, they're the ones paying out the most money. They're paying out more money than the SEC right now. They got 3 straight, national titles, in football, with Michigan, Ohio State, and Indiana, right? So it's not the big bad SEC anymore that that existed under Nick Saban and everything like that. So again, man, I don't think we could go wrong with either conference. The multiple teams in Florida dynamic, Gio, I always just kind of find weird because, again, right, when we're looking at, we all know on this panel, right, there's South Florida and North Florida they might as well be 2 different states, right? The TV markets don't resemble each other. So on and so forth. I mean, they're literally 2 different states. So I get the Florida, deal and them kind of shooting it down in terms of, first refusal and the whole deal, which whatever. I mean, that's fine. But the conference as a whole, I don't see why you wouldn't want a team like Miami, especially on the trajectory that they're on now. The Big Ten, clearly, right? You want that foothold in Florida, again, which I get, but I honestly, man, I just don't think that there's a losing proposition, among the 2, right? Honestly, I mean, to me, I think you flip a coin. And I just don't think there's a bad choice among them, right? I think anything not in the ACC that's not the Big 12, I'm okay with. Big 10 or SEC, like I said, man, flip a coin, and I'd honestly be cool with either one. I think there's great matchups in both. There's way more money in both, and I think they'd be able to thrive in either conference.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about, we're going back to financial incentives. I was trying to look for my graphic, but I had removed it from the previous show. Let me get one more off the screen. There we go. And Miami made $68 million, and it was a winner take all. The ACC created that because they wanted to appease Clemson and Florida State. With all the winner take all, with all the money, the revenue that Miami made this past season, there's still $20 million under both Georgia, who didn't win, all right, and even Indiana, who won the national championship by $20 million. $20 million difference between the ACC and the Big Ten. So it makes perfect sense for Miami if they want to jump ship they will go to one of those two conferences. On top of that, the ACC has a horrible deal, right, as far as television goes, whereas the Big Ten's on Fox. And I've seen the World Cup right now. Fox is freaking killing it as well when it comes to like viewership and subscribership with Fox One as well. So the Big Ten's in very good shape right now. They're the new girl on the block. The SEC is kind of like becoming, the past tense in particular, because like you guys mentioned, the Big Ten has won the last three national championships in this last 3 years. So the Big Ten has really has kind of superseded the SEC. And it seems like what it looks like. I'll say this, Juan. I'll get to your questions towards the end. I know you guys are dying to get some.
Bro.
Yeah, he totally is, man. God bless him, man. He's at all our shows, bro.
Those anything can't look. If I watch a podcast, a Canes related podcast, Juan is on there just typing, going nuts, man.
Absolutely.
I admire it, bro. I admire it. Juan, good job, brother. Good job.
Yeah, he and I were going. We're having a fun debate in the You Heard podcast yesterday when I was in the chat over the defensive end position, right, as well, because Joey said that he doesn't see the freshmen getting on the field like De'Anthony Lafayette and stuff like that because we're so deep at the end position that and of course Juan disagreed, so I had to tell him, like, listen, man, we are deep there. It's not exactly maybe a Central Michigan family, so we had a little bit of fun going back and forth with each other about whether the freshmen or true freshmen we're going to see the field this year in a Miami uniform, to say the least. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. Now I want to go into recruiting a little bit. Because I want to ask Gio about two guys since he's in the know. All right, as well. See, Juan, Ashari Charles, there's playing time. You don't know that, right? You don't know that. Have you seen him play, Juan?
He deserves playing time. Right? He deserves it.
Yes, sir. I'm just teasing you, buddy. Just teasing. No, but I want to go. I want to ask Gio a question, and I want you guys to piggyback to follow up if you want. The DJ Jacobs situation. I think this is a major marathon. He did visit Ohio State. He said all the right things, to not piss off Ohio State in general, but he did not leave with the recruitment shutdown. Where's Miami in that situation? Is that going to be all the way to December thing, or will we find out more or less middle of the season, depending on whose defense looks better?
I think I shouldn't say I think anymore at this point. I had a discussion with someone at Miami about this a couple of weeks back, and it was pretty clear cut like this. They're going to go after him until there's just basically that official, like, my recruitment is done. I'm not taking any more calls. I'm not taking any more texts. I'm not going to sneak in for any game day visits anywhere, as most of these kids do when fall comes around. Basically that, honestly. There won't be much movement there right now this second. But as we get closer to the season, teams will try to poke and prod. Your Tennessee, your Georgia, Oregon, Miami, all still in the mix there trying to go after him. But if I had to say there's been one common denominator throughout his recruitment, Miami's been the most consistent of those programs. There is some family ties there with Tennessee as well. There's a coach on the staff there, a lot of familial ties with Jacobs and his family. But, that kind of seems like it hasn't been a driving point either in his recruitment, because he technically is a legacy player for Georgia. And he's not committed to Georgia either. So I don't think so much like family connections is the big thing. I think basically boils down to not necessarily does Miami need to show him something specifically or something specifically has to happen. It's more so when it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, It doesn't. But Miami's definitely in it.
Okay. Q, what's your take?
It's an interesting one, man, because, I think by all accounts, right before the Miami Ohio State game, essentially he was getting ready to commit to Miami, right? And so, I think everybody knows what happened, right? I mean, Ohio State swooped in, and obviously I would imagine, right, with something, resembling a huge offer, obviously something he couldn't say no to, and he committed to Ohio State, right? I think I've read, obviously he's from the Metro Atlanta area. I know him and Mark Richt, right? The family and Mark Richt obviously are tight because, he is a Georgia legacy. And from everything I've heard and from everything I've read, that Mark Richt was, kind of his choice was, hey, you should go to Miami, from everything I've read. I don't know how official that is or not.
Yeah, well,
Um,
actually, Mark Rick happens to be his godfather.
There you go. That's what I was like. I know there's
I didn't
some
know
layers
that.
to it. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, a
So
few more Miami ties actually. The agency that represents Jacobs is the same that is involved with Malachi Tony and is based out of
nice.
South Florida.
That's a good thing.
But not to give too much away.
Yeah,
Okay.
hey, no, that's it. But also, right? I mean, yeah. Now, I know we didn't know, but right. But that should be. I mean, if that's how it's common knowledge, right? I mean, it's an agency deal, right? I mean, there's no secret there, right? I mean, so, but again, those are all things obviously that can't hurt right now. How much do they help? That's anybody's guess. Clearly, that's not going to hurt Miami's chances, right? With the Mark Richt factor, the same agency as Malley factor, all these things. Now, again, he's basically almost committed to Miami. So, I mean, I think by all accounts, this thing is neck and neck, right? And I think what Miami has going for him is like Will said, right? Listen, and how everybody's mentioned, look, he hasn't shut it down, right? What did all Miami's recruits do? They all have the graphic, hey, recruitment shut down. We haven't seen that from Jacobs, right? And so, again, as long as that's the case, as long as that's out there, right? Then you have to figure, by all accounts, Miami has, a chance to flip them. Now, again, how strong a chance? Again, I guess that's anybody's guess, but I think right now for him not being committed to Miami, I think you have to like where you're at, given all these factors, right? So, I think obviously, I mean, it'd be great to land him, and again, like everybody's mentioned, it's going to be, this isn't a sprint. This is definitely this is a marathon. Miami's built for the marathon, like they showed, and again, if it happens, if it's going to happen anywhere, it's probably going to happen at Miami. And time will tell. But, again, if you're Miami, you have to feel good as you can feel with him not currently committed to your school is the best way I can put that.
John, what'd you take, brother?
Well, DJ Jacobs is in a unique situation where he is the number one player in the country. So I can't say I wouldn't be doing the exact same thing he's doing, just for, kind of from the player's perspective. Some people might be like, oh, he's kind of playing us, jerking us around, whatever. So a lot of fans, like to chime in and say, oh, not a true Cane, move on, whatever. Look, this is the type of player, the type of talent that these teams, they're going to be in it. They're going to be fighting for him until the end. So he's I think very smartly waiting, like dragging this thing out until signing day. Watch the offer kind of pile up until signing day. He'll make a decision. I don't blame him. Can't blame the kid because not 99% of players can't do that. Any other player, Mario would be like, you know what? Enough of this bull crap. We're moving on.
Yeah.
Well, look at what they did with the linebacker.
And he has done that many times.
Yeah, look at what they did with the Caden Henderson, right? And
Yeah.
I think everybody's kind of reported they were just like, I'm sorry, what? All right, big guy, you enjoy. We're bowing out of this one, and
Exactly.
so they've done
I
it,
do
right?
want to
They've done it
mention
before.
something about the Caden Henderson thing too. Aside from NIL and everything, Miami's always, especially for specific players, they're willing to go beyond the bars and distance for certain players. They'll pony up. But I do think it definitely takes a certain mentality to play at Miami. And once there's certain flags that start piling up with a player or recruit, that Miami just wants to distance themselves and everything. And it always boils down to this, that I've always had this type of feedback come back to me. It's that, do they love football? Do they actually talk about football? Do they live it? Do they breathe it? And I think that was another big factor there that took place with Henderson, that even aside from just NIL and everything, there's counter offers and everything that kept on coming back with, because the whole Texas A&M thing and all that. But I think that was another big one too. The character is a huge thing. I know some people say, oh, well, you can just pay anyone or whatever. It's a big thing still in the building. They're prioritizing that they want to make sure they're getting the right guys in the building, because they can get anyone that's super talented, but how are they going to fit in what's going on here now?
You saw what
Speaking
Nick
of-
Saban said, man,
Go ahead.
it's not about paying people, it's about paying the right people.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not paying
Absolutely.
the right people, man, I mean, you know, it's listen, your team's gonna go to hell. Like, I mean, it's the way it goes, man. With all this money now involved, you know, and listen, I think they're showing it now on the field, right? And you're seeing, I think the evaluations are spot on, right? I think these guys are handing out the right money to the right people. I think they have parameters in place that, again, they're set on. They take a position, they assign it a certain value, and they say this is where we're going to be at. And if you're cool with it, then we want you, right? Because you've seen all these people come out now. Like there's a bunch of recruits that come out and said Miami wasn't even my my biggest offer, right? Miami's not my biggest offer, and it didn't matter, and that's where I'm going, right? And so again, you really have to applaud them for, you know, it's not just, hey, you know, they're competitive across the board in NIL, but it's not about, listen, that we're not going to have, you know, a class of, you know, of 20 guys and everyone was going to be the highest paid, you know, player at that position, you know, across the country, right? We're assigning a dollar value to it. That's what we're going to stick to based on our evaluation. We're comfortable there. And if you're not comfortable there, then you go ahead and take another offer. And so again, man, you have to applaud them for it. They're building it the right way. They're building it to be sustainable. And you have to be really happy with that right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention, I want to circle back to this young man. I've heard that we may circle back to Myson Johnson Cook. That seemed to me like a very big, I mean, the optics. Okay. He said all the right things, you know, when you picked Auburn, but it seemed to me like it was a major NIL based decision. If should the Canes revisit that conversation with him again, being that it seemed optically, again, allegedly, again, you know, this is just my perspective. It seems that he was chasing a bag more so than chasing success with the Miami Hurricanes. So like Geo, so basically Geo, is Miami really gonna revisit that conversation with MJC, or have they completely moved on from him? Because I know they're like taking two backs every cycle. Tykees is the only one they have so far. Last year they took one. But is Miami thinking about revisiting Myson Johnson Cook during the season, or are they moved on from him?
Well, two things I want to mention behind the whole MJC recruitment, and then even Ty Keys attached along with that. There are some Miami fans that took the stance that, oh man, we settled, you know, we went and got Ty Keys. No, they were willing to take both of those guys. And to the point that they've taken the stance that they didn't get MJC, fine, but they didn't go and scramble to add a second running back along with Ty Keys. They were really excited about both of those guys. They were very close to getting Myson Johnson Cook. You definitely on the mark there with that. They were very, very close to landing him. Now, in terms of Miami revisiting that, I don't think there's a guarantee when it comes to that yet, for a few reasons. One, character's a really big thing. And there was already some questions. I brought this up even before he visited in the spring to some people on my Discord, that there were some things Miami had to clarify because he's transferred a few times already as it is at the high school level. And that's some like off-field things that, you know, that Miami cleared up with the family and everything. They spoke through it. Number two, you know, like he basically did tell them that he was coming. So not that that's something that would deter Miami from going after a kid again, but it's kind of like, damn, you know, you kind of gave us your word that you were coming, then you didn't show up and everything. Long story short of it, we'll see how Auburn's season turns out. We'll see if a player weighs, you know, because Miami was still close in the ballpark and everything in terms of numbers. It wasn't like some vast difference. We'll see what is valued more, playing on a team that's competing and you could be developed and you're playing at a great program, or whatever Auburn is or looks like going forward with a new head coach as well. So I think it was a little bit of a gamble that he took, but we'll see. I could see Miami circling back there, but I don't think that one's a slam dunk that Miami does it, though.
Okay. Q, what do you think? Do you think that Miami should revisit Myson Johnson or just, you know, move on?
I mean, I think on the surface, right? If you're not, again, Gio brought up a lot of stuff, and that's stuff that I had not heard, the character side of things. And again, we go back to what their evals have been, and that plays as big a part as anything, right? You know, when you're looking at, you know, the player, when you're looking at the personality, you know, again, they're doing a great job of bringing in, the right guys, right? And so, when you're looking at, a player and you're evaluating, the player kind of as a whole, if those red flags exist, then obviously that's going to give you cause for concern and maybe cause you to, to kind of look somewhere else, right? I mean, he was close to committing. I remember seeing all over Twitter, it's like, oh, he's about to. And then not only did he just not commit, but he committed to Auburn, right? So it's not even like he's like, well, listen, I'm going to hold off, right? It was like, oh, he's about to commit to Miami, and then boom, he commits to Auburn. So, again, obviously that has to give you some cause for concern, right? If it's only about the money, from what I've seen, at least from like East St. Louis, from everything I know about East St. Louis, not a great area. So I would imagine he probably, again, he may come from, from a tough background, family really not financially set in any way, shape, or form. So maybe the money has a ton to do with it. Who knows? I don't know enough about the situation to say, for sure one way or the other. But at the end of the day, man, if you're looking at just the player, right, a guy who, again, man, size, speed, a guy that runs with, with toughness, obviously, man, a dude who you love to pair with, with a Ty Keys and, a thunder and lightning type situation. Again, character aside, red flags aside, he's a guy that, kind of, just in general, I would love to see land at Miami. Yeah, because the guy looks like a stud. I mean, all the, the huddle film that I've seen on him and people have posted about him, I mean, he looks like the real deal, right? So, I mean, you have to be, I don't know how you wouldn't want him here, right? But obviously, again, the vetting has to come back clean, and it's got to be something where he's the he's the right fit. But as long as all that were to come back clean, he's a guy that I 1000% would want to see at Miami for sure.
John,
because of his talent level, he's someone I would at least circle back on, because he's essentially Mark Fletcher with elite speed. What program wouldn't want that? And he fits in our offense, in our scheme beautifully. Whereas Auburn doesn't fit very well at all. That didn't make sense. So I think it's kind of obvious to everyone why he chose Auburn last minute. But, he's had a few months now to kind of mull over his decision. For that reason, I'd circle back and be like, hey, you've had a chance to think about this. You sure this is what you want to do? You don't fit there. They're not heading in the right direction. Very unstable, with the coaching staff and everything. Like, are you sure? Because you got it made over here. You just got to come in, be willing to work. Like, you got to be about that life, because obviously if they wanted him and he committed, that means he saw practice. That means he knows the culture and he was, he wanted in. So I'm fine with all that. Again, most other players, I wouldn't do this. Because of his talent level, this is the type of first round running back that Georgia used to take every year. He's that kind of guy. You want those. Those help you grind out those close games and get those victories in the playoffs. Okay. So I would circle back. If you don't get them, you don't get them. I'm very happy with the class the way it is. But if you could flip an MJC or a DJ Jacobs, awesome. But we're playing with house money at this point. I like the 20 guys that we got.
Yeah. My thing is,
he's got an NFL body, right? I mean, he looks like he could be entering the draft a week from now. Like he's that big. And going back real quick to what we were talking about, like Gio was mentioning about Auburn. Let me tell you something. I don't know if anybody saw the video of Byron Brown throwing at the Manning court. I think it was it Manning or was it the Elite 11? I can't remember which one it was. But the videos that have come up of Byron Brown throwing at whichever camp that was embarrassing. And again, I know it's not a live game, but the videos and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was absolutely embarrassing, these throws that he was missing. Like these guys running routes and him, I mean, these timing routes, I mean, he couldn't hit anything, right? And so you're looking at the schedule, you're looking at this new staff at Auburn. He brought with him a bunch of guys from USF. I don't know how well those guys, translate to the SEC. I think this could be one of those years for Auburn that, again, a lot of their recruits are looking at that and going, yeah, I don't know that I want to sign up for that right there. So, again, that remains to be seen, but I could see Auburn really struggling in the first year under Alex Golesh out there. Yeah. So
I think Golesh is a great coach. Don't get me wrong, but it's his first year transitioning to the SEC. It's going to be rough for
I
a
think
couple
it's
years.
going to be a tough. I think it's going to be a very tough transition, honestly.
I don't think it's an overnight build for Auburn, and they did lose a few key skill position guys, which would have helped Brown this year. Two specifically, especially in the receiver room, that would have helped them a lot. I'm on that page with you guys that I want to see what Auburn looks like this year, because things could get interesting in terms of MJC's recruitment. But look, I will say this, and this was made clear from Miami's end. They can spend the money on a guy like him, but we'll see. We'll see what it boils down to at the end of the day. I think Miami took the position of, look, we'll just play the long game here, because it's not like you're not going toe to toe with the team that was in the playoff or competing for the playoff in recent years. Auburn, they've got a lot of stuff to work out. They got a lot of stuff to figure out. And look, again, a first-year coach like Golish at Auburn has a little bit of pedigree already as being a little bit of a program builder, did some good things with USF, but you do get that first-year benefit where kids buy into the vision, but you also have some kids that are like, well, I don't really want to wait for the vision. I want to go Jeremiah Smith this and go play for a big-time program. Maybe I'll see you a few years down the line.
Yeah, just my thing. If it's pure, if a lot of it had to do with NIL, where it was really a big portion. Plus, he went to, like I said, he picked Auburn. In particular, that's a red flag for me. And I think that like I said, I don't know the kid, and I'm not in the business of criticizing 18-year-olds. In general, that's not what I'm about. But I just think that you may find yourself with a character problem in the locker room. Like I said, like Dante Wright said it best. I said I had better offers, and people thought he was going to Oregon. And I'm sure Oregon would have offered him a lot more, but he came to Miami. Those are the kind of kids you want, versus somebody that at the 11th hour picks Auburn out of nowhere. I think Miami had like the graphic ready to say committed, in general, then it was done. So that's just my take. If he commits,
I'll tell you something about that recruitment, Will. I've seen so many Oregon fans hanging their hat on this, saying they're like, oh, don't worry, he's gonna flip to Oregon right at the end. He'll spurn Miami and whatnot. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think so either.
He actually really likes Miami. Like, if anyone's ever been around him in person, you kind of get a feel for it after being around recruiting for many years, like which kids actually are feeling it and showing it, and which ones are just kind of, it's performance. It's not performance with him. He really likes Miami.
He helped recruit. Like, he's helping with recruiting. Like, I mean, he's involved. As well. The same thing with Nick and Lear. Those are guys that you could tell, that they like, the program. So that's just what I'm saying. And that's all, like, with the whole MJC thing. I mean, if he would have committed to Georgia, I mean, even if it was NIL related, Georgia has a history of putting guys in the NFL, running backs in the NFL. They've won national championships in recent memory. You could kind of say, like, okay, I get it. But a school like Auburn is like, oh yeah, like I could feel the vision. The running backs. I was not sold on it. So that's why I'm like, and I think that usually guys like that are like that they pick finance over success. In general, they kind of tend to be a bit of a problem. In the locker room, and that's kind of like what I would feel. I'm afraid of. Again, I don't know him personally. He could be the nicest kid in the world. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, the look of it is what concerns me. But again, I do trust Miami's evaluatory staff, and if they feel like, hey, he's the guy, he's the guy. I know for one thing, I will say this, and this is for Juan in the chat, who's bugging me over the whole MJC thing and as well. Miami's not paying 7 figures for a running back. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay. I mean, unless Barry freaking Sanders, goes back in time and comes back as a 20-year-old, I don't see Miami paying, a 7 figures for a running back.
Funny thing you say that, because also one of the responses was, hey, we could pay a running back this much money, but would it be wise business sense?
Yeah.
And real quick before we move on from him, and John mentioned it. Listen, when this season starts and you start to see what Auburn is doing, right? Specifically, what kind of running game they have, right? And they're running the spread type run game or whatever it is. John mentioned it before. He hit it on the head. It's like that's not what he's built for.
Yeah.
That's not what he's built for. So when the games actually start being played, and now we're a month and a half into the season, now you got proof of concept on one end, comparing it to the other, and you're seeing, listen, that Miami offense, and I'm watching Mark Fletcher essentially do what I can do in that offense, right? And now you're going to go, over to a Byron Brown-led offense. Who knows what the hell is that going to look like? But of course, it's more of a spread type run game or whatever that I just don't see him, thriving in or whatever. So again, John hit it on the head, man. Again, we'll give this thing a little bit of time, see what happens when the season starts, see when he's able to actually watch the product on the field. He's soon going to realize, hey, listen, even if they're paying me more, this doesn't make any sense, right? Because it's not about, at this point, it's not about NIL, it's NFL, right? And if I go to Auburn, even though they're paying me more money on the front end, all right, this is going to cost me in the long run, right? So I need to make the right decision. And I think when the football actually starts being played, he'll be able to see that.
Right.
And I would not offer him more also.
No, absolutely not.
Yo, the offer's the offer.
The offer,
yeah,
the offer.
I totally agree.
Exactly, 100%.
I totally agree.
100%.
That's okay. All right, moving on. All right, the wonderful thing about Miami locking down his recruits and them all shutting it down is that we could talk a little 2028. All right, and I want to talk about three individuals, like actually four. All right, four individuals that are absolutely killing it as far as recruiting conversation goes. We're going to stick with the running back position because this young man at Jacksonville, Florida, Xander Edwards, has been the talk of conversation. A Notre Dame legacy, all right, but there is some talks about Miami being in the running for him. All right, in 2025, okay, this young man, all right, Xander Edwards, rushed for almost 2,700 yards, 9.9 yards per carry, 44 rushing touchdowns, caught 17 passes for 211 yards, and get this, folks, 44 touchdowns in the season. Geo, what's the conversation on this guy in the Miami Hurricanes? Is Notre Dame going to get him, or is Miami in a lot closer than people think they are?
Well, there was definitely some sentiments there of weird feelings when it came to Notre Dame because they finally came in with a late offer. He is a legacy guy. Father went there and everything. He's had multiple family go there. Miami's been very consistent with him since he was basically an 8th grade prodigy coming into the high school ranks in the 904. They've been very consistent. They've had him on campus multiple times. He's visited for game days. But Notre Dame, they haven't built that same type of relationship with him to this point. So they're playing catch up. They're playing from behind right now. I still think it's very early. I do know and have heard that some crystal balls went out recently, him being one of those names. Am I going to say it's premature? No. The reason why I'm not going to say it's entirely premature, I know the guy, Zach Blostein, who put out those predictions, really good guy, met him in person and everything, does a great job with recruiting coverage for years now. I've met him at several high school events and whatnot in the past, especially right before the season when round up like all the teams in South Florida and whatnot. But sticking on track, though, is Miami the favorite right now? Absolutely. Could they be 6-7 months from now? We got to see, because I look back to like a situation of Mark Matthews. Mark Matthews would light up all the time when he would talk about Miami before Texas A&M truly came into the picture. We're talking for multiple years, and then it just kind of felt like Texas A&M came out of nowhere. He went there. He put on the cowboy hat, and everyone else knows the history with that. So for now, great position they are in with him, but a lot of time left on the clock. So I'm always careful about those early crystal balls.
Yeah. John, what do you think? John, you're muted.
Sorry, I was actually watching his tape while Gio was talking, and see a lot of Cam Scattaboo there is what pops into my head. And but some people say Mike Allstott. I see more Cam Scattaboo, frankly. Good speed, good like quickness, hits the hole hard, no nonsense downhill kind of runner. What you kind of know exactly what you're getting there. So fits the Mario Cristobal style and culture perfectly. And I'm very surprised that we're able to at least get a crystal ball prediction for a guy that's a Notre Dame legacy, because in the past, and I want to say in the past, I mean up until like this recruiting cycle pretty much, You saw it with the receivers from St. Thomas Aquinas, that Julius Jones, same thing, that you kind of knew we didn't really have a shot there because of the legacy thing. Whenever it's another school, if they're like the son of somebody or the little brother of somebody, pretty much every time they're going to that school. But the funny thing is, when it's a legacy of a Miami guy, it's a coin flip 50-50. I'm like, why can't we lock these legacy guys down? I don't know why. Maybe that's going to start to change now, but it's a nice change to see a Notre Dame guy of all people is, kind of leaning towards Miami right now. Again, I like his style. I hope we can pair him with a second back in that class, because we've kind of failed to do so the last couple of classes. But like him as a player, I think he'll fit very well here if we are able to land him.
Okay. Q.
Yeah,
your thoughts, sir?
The legacy deal. That's what I was going to start with when it came to my turn. The legacy dynamic with Miami, and again, you hit it on the head, John. It's always really interesting to me, because you go school to school, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, Georgia, this, that, and it seems like if you're a legacy, it's an automatic, right? And then you get to Miami, and then they're like, oh yeah, he's a legacy, right? And they landed Camden Portis, right? But before that, every legacy that I can remember went somewhere else, right? So the legacy deal is always kind of weird to me when Miami's at play, because again, it just always seems like it just never seems like it goes their way. Obviously, the talent, the kid is a talent. I mean, you look at those numbers, where he's putting up those numbers, right, at a school, like Bowles, right, which is obviously one of the top programs in the state. So you there's a lot to like there, right? The area that you'd be getting them from, right, is an area that's typically been a Florida stronghold. The program seems like, I understand what the sentiment has been for decades, right? The state of Miami, right? Everything from Palm Beach down, we lock it down and we da-da-da. But this staff has shown slowly that they are willing to go anywhere, to get the right guy, right? You look at what they're doing in Alabama. You look at what they've done in Georgia recently, and obviously Georgia's become a hotbed, and they're putting out as much talent as anybody. When you talk about high-end talent in the Metro Atlanta area, it's ridiculous. Again, they're going to California, to typical USC strongholds, and so on and so forth, right? So it just continues on with this philosophy that this staff has, that it doesn't matter where you're located. It doesn't matter what pipeline has existed at your school. We're not scared of that. We're going to send our guys, and when it comes time to make that decision for that kid, if we have a hat on the table, then we have a hell of a chance to land you, right? And so they've shown that they're not scared to recruit against anybody. They flip guys from Ohio State professionally at this point. It doesn't matter. You land Ohio State, you got a chance to be flipped to Miami, right? So they've shown from Georgia, from Oregon, so on and so forth. So they're not scared of going into anywhere to recruit you, right? And again, you're seeing it at Mandarin, you're seeing it at Bowles, you're seeing it in that area up there where it's basically been Florida, Georgia, Florida State, so on and so forth. Miami really hasn't had a presence in that area of North Florida really ever, right? Again, these are pipeline schools to SEC schools and to, so on and so forth, anywhere but Miami, but you're seeing it now in North Florida, you're seeing it in Tampa, so on and so forth. So again, they're showing that when they value somebody, that they're going to recruit them, and they've got a strong chance at landing them no matter where in the country they're located, right? So for a lot of reasons, I'm a fan of the player, and hopefully he lands in Miami. Obviously, a long way to go with him being a 28 kid, but again, man, they've shown that they're not scared to recruit against anybody. They're gonna put boots on the ground wherever they want somebody, and they're gonna live with the consequences. Like, they're not shying away. They're not shying away from anybody or any staff to recruit against, and I absolutely love that. That is the state of things, in 2026. I love that. So,
all right, we have 350 over 350 you watching right now. Thank you so much. Please stay on. We will be getting to your comments in the next few minutes. The next guy I want to talk about is a man that has everybody in conversation as well, also from Bowles as well in the Jacksonville area, and that is Asher Ghioto. All right, Asher Ghioto is a flat out beast, man. 6'5", 240 pounds, the top defensive end in the recruiting class of 2028. Check us out, gentlemen. 84 tackles, 65 solo tackles, tackles for loss 35, 23 sacks, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. The conversation has been pretty much Miami seems to be the in the lead for this young man. I really hope we get him. This is a generational player. The way it is looking, he is housing guys that are a couple years older than him in these camps that he's attending. So I'm very excited about his recruitment. I'm excited about his size. I'm excited about his speed and power to boot as well. Geo, give us some good news, man. What are you hearing?
Yes. So there was some discussion for some time if he was going to reclassify. If not, latest feedback has been suggesting that he'll likely stick in 2028. I don't blame kids for flirting with it and then deciding to stick with their actual class they're in, because really you got more bargaining chips at the end of the day when you go to the table to negotiate. Instead of reclassifying down, you kind of speed up your process and everything. So gives a little more leeway to the prospect himself and their agency. Now, when it comes to his recruitment, Miami, they've been setting the pace, absolutely, second to none when it comes to what they've done with his recruitment to this point. But I'm watching 2 other teams as well very closely over time. Georgia, especially one of them, I'm watching very closely in his recruitment. And Florida is a sleeper team there as well. Florida has also traditionally done well at Jacksonville Bulls, but we'll see. You know, as Q was saying earlier, Miami's been breaking apart some strongholds to previous schools, that whether it's out of state or even in state, because Miami landing guys from Armwood and landing guys from Jacksonville Bulls, this was unheard of for a very, very long time. So Mario Cristobal is breaking barriers that have not been broken much before. So it's very impressive. I think the Cristobal is accurate. At least, you know, if the guy were to pick a school today, it's going to be Miami. Miami's done the best of any school to this point. But as I said earlier, when it comes to this recruitment, a lot of runway left, plenty of visits to be taken. But what Miami has done very well, and I want to give some flowers to one of the support staffers that's at Miami that I used to work with actually at Rivals some years ago, Frank Tucker, the Crib, South Florida, I think is a tool and an asset for Miami and their recruiting department in identifying a lot of these players early on and getting in and making those inroads and the relationships with the parents and the prospect early on, because Ghioto was another one of those guys, that young prodigy kid coming out of the 8th grade into the high school ranks and everything. Miami's done really well with that, like developing long-term relationships, and it goes a long way. Whether they win it or not in the end, they're right there in the thick of it to the end.
Yeah, Q, what's your take, sir?
You know, I would just repeat a lot of you know, what we were talking about for Xander Edwards, right? I mean, you know, you're looking at you know, you're looking at the position, right? You know, a guy who gets after the quarterback. You know, you're looking at the measurables. You know, a guy who's, you know, but obviously, you know, you have to expect for him to continue to grow and you know, and get bigger, get more physically mature. You know, you have to like, you know, the school that he's at, you know, the competition he's playing. You know, where he's putting up these numbers, right? He's not playing 1A football, 2A football, right? I mean, this is big boy football in Florida, right? So, you know, again, those numbers really do stand out for the right reasons, right? He's not feasting on, you know, on a bunch of bums, right? I mean, he's doing this at an elite program, you know, elite production. You know, you see his offers, right? Everybody has offered him. You know, so this is going to be one of those, you know, one of those kids, again, number 1 DN in the country, I think is what I saw, right? Number 3 player in Florida, I think is something like that, right? So, you know, again, man, the kid is the real deal. I've seen a couple interviews with him from when he was down at I think it was he at Legends, I think, or something like that. And, you know, he did some interviews, and I mean, really impressive kid when you hear him talk, you know, well-spoken, you know, seems to admire the program, obviously, you know, has connected with Jason Taylor, which, you know, you always love, you know, man. So, you know, again, man, this is, you know, a kid that everybody wants, you know, for obvious reasons. It'd be huge to land him, obviously being in Florida. And, you know, you're looking at, you know, again, what Miami continues to do in, you know, in the north end of the state, continues to chip away at these big, you know, these traditional stronghold programs for, for other schools. And, again, man, Jason Taylor is what he did just recently in the draft. Those guys are seeing it. They respect it. They're connecting with JT on a personal level, man, more than just football. And so again, man, for a lot of reasons, you have to like where Miami stands for him. Obviously, it would be a huge get, man. So hopefully everything continues to trend in the right direction and he lands at Miami.
John, what do you think?
Yeah, this would be how many years in a row now? If we land him 5, I think that we've landed a 5-star on the D line. I was just looking now. 2026, Jaden Bryant. 2025, Hayden Lowe. 2024, Justin Scott. 2023, I think we got somebody. Hang on, I'm checking now.
Lightfoot should be.
Maybe Lightfoot. No, Lightfoot was 2024. Sorry. Ruben Bain was a 4-star, technically 4-star.
Should have been a 5-star.
Should have been a 5-star.
Yeah, because he
should have been the number 1 DN in the country, really.
Yeah.
If they actually took the time to watch him. But let's, for the sake of this argument, let's call him a 5-star. So 2023, 24, 25, 26, now 2027. That'll be 5 years in a row. Get a 5-star in the D line. Oh, and some 5-stars on the O line along the way too. It's pretty obvious how Miami's gotten to where they've gotten. They've obviously recruited at an elite level overall and invested a lot of money in that. The scouting has been second to none, I think. But specifically the focus on the trenches. Look how far we got last year to the championship game with a solid, game manager of a quarterback. Not a ton of elite game-breaking speed on the outside. You had Malachi Toney. You had some solid possession guys on the outside that had some experience. That was about it. And a really, really good defense. You took that to the national championship. Why? Elite trench play.
Trenches.
Period. Now we're starting to see that permeate to the other positions, which is awesome. So, you got 4 or 5-stars in this class. But, yeah, it starts in the trenches. And I think it's going to continue by landing this kid.
All right, guys. Well, for the sake of time, we're not going to speak about Bryson Wright. He's also been spoken about quite a bit by many of us in the podcasting world as well. But he's an elite wide receiver, and Miami is heavily on his recruitment. But I think it's a little more wide open than people seem to think. But I really want to talk about this young man who's actually from my neck of the woods, out of Pembroke Pines, Florida. Before announcing his transfer over to Christopher Columbus for his junior year, and that young man is Amir Sears. Amir Sears is considered the best athlete in the 2028 cycle. He had 15 games played in 2025, 42 catches, almost 1,000 yards receiving, 22 yards per catch, 11 touchdowns, 1,008 all-purpose yards, but also had 91 total tackles, 61 of those solo and 3 picks. This is somebody that the Canes really want and are really prioritizing. I want to talk about I want to ask the recruiting guru, how is that recruitment going, Mr. Milian? And now, of course, I'll piggyback from the rest of you on the panel.
Very well. Just a long runway left, but he is one of the few 2028s that I've actually logged an early pick for myself. When it comes to Miami, I do think Miami is going to be very difficult to beat when it comes to his recruitment. He's never been shy about it, how much he loves Miami, that Miami really has been the school that has recruited him the hardest to this point. Yes, there's teams like Texas A&M trying to throw their hat in the ring. There's the LSUs, the Syracuses, and everything. But I do think this is one of those guys that I'd be shocked if Miami loses this recruitment at this point because of all the factors I know that are involved. Actually, one of my brother's good friends does a lot of video content with Amir himself as well.
Okay.
So Miami's sitting in a good spot right now. We'll see. Obviously, time has to continue on and more recruitment runway for him as well. He's not going to reclassify. So we'll see. But I do think it's Miami in the end.
Hey, Gio. Hey, sorry, guys. And before we move on, Gio, receiver or corner for him?
Oh, he could play both at a very high level.
That's what I mean. Yeah, because he's a stud. He's a stud on both ends of the field, right? But where is Miami recruiting him at? Where does he see himself playing at? And I'm not sure if you've heard that from him or from anybody at Miami and where they project him. I've heard corner, but
Cornerback,
yeah,
yeah.
both corner. Okay.
Cornerback, but they are open to allowing him to play both sides of the ball. There are some players in the past Miami has recruited that they've left that door open for, like, hey, if you do want to play a little bit on the other side of the ball, you can. They've left that door open in the past. So, but yeah, cornerback, and honestly, he'd make a great safety. He'd make a great nickel. He's just a tremendous athlete.
Yeah, he's a hell of an athlete. Dude, the videos that I've seen of that guy, the way he tracks the ball in the air,
Oh yeah,
is absolutely incredible. It's incredible the way that kid tracks the ball, the way he moves. I mean, it's effortless. He's a gazelle when he runs. I mean, he's incredible. This kid's incredible.
he's I think when you talk like pure athletes playing defensive back, in my opinion, out of the state of Florida, the best one as a cornerback purely since Patrick Johnson. I call him Patrick Johnson still because
before Peterson.
Before Peterson, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Committed to Miami for a little while before flipping.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, it was a bad one. It was a bad one to miss out on right there. One of the greats.
Okay. Well, Q, you broke down his cornerback skills. What about his receiving skills? What do you think?
Bro, I mean, again, man, like I said, the kid tracks the ball, something fierce, man. I mean, he's, again, great hands. Kid is he's a smooth athlete, man. I mean, you see him out there, running, man. I mean, again, he makes it look super easy. You see him even in his warm-ups, right? I mean, him warming up is a show, right? All the stuff he's doing out there and everything. So, I mein, again, man, he looks like the real deal. He's somebody, again, when you talk about being elite on both sides of the ball, I live up here in the Metro Atlanta area. Travis Hunter kind of comes to mind, given what he did in high school and how he did on both sides of the ball and everything like that. So, again, he seems to be a bigger dude than Travis Hunter, right? I think he's a taller guy, probably faster, so on and so forth than Travis Hunter. And look at what Travis Hunter did, right? And what he became in terms of, obviously not a finished product at the NFL level, but obviously, I mean, the guy was, just box office, right? To go watch, every Saturday. So again, man, he's trending, to be, possibly the number one player in the country, right? At least the number one athlete as of now. And again, he's at Columbus now and so on and so forth, man. So again, for a lot of reasons, man, this 28 class is really looking like the high end talent in this class. And I'm sure Geo could tell us better than anyone, man. The 28 class is really, really looking like there is going to be some dudes, possibly, at the top of this class and hopefully land at Miami. It's looking like a really, really elite crop of guys as of now. So hopefully they stay in, on the right path and in the running for these guys, and hopefully they all land at Miami, man. Because if they do, they're going to put together a hell of a class.
John, what do you think, sir?
I'm just thinking, if we land Amir Sears and Bryson Wright, can you imagine those two guys going at it in practice?
They used to play for the same 7-on-7 team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but talk about iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Obviously Amir Sears for me would be top priority because he just transferred to Columbus. So being a Columbus kid, you got that inroad right there. He's literally in your backyard. I mean, 20 minutes from campus?
Yeah.
So Mario, Mirabal, and all these guys being former Columbus guys themselves, you have that pipeline established already. So he's Miami's to lose. Just don't mess it up. We should be fine. I would be shocked if we don't get him. Bryson Wright, he's not South Florida kid, so a little different. That'll be a little bit more of an uphill climb because everyone's going to want that kid. But I have confidence.
Earlier. Huh? Wolfon was saying earlier that Bryson Wright apparently his top two is Miami and Texas.
Oh, I know. Look, there's a long way to go. A lot can happen.
A lot of runway, a long way to go. But again, in a good spot.
Yes.
Would appear.
We're in a good spot for him, Ghioto, for three generational talents, basically. We're in a good spot.
Class, yeah, dude, that 28 class is looking legit, man.
Yeah, I gotta ask Gio a question. I know I was gonna not go into Bryson Wright too much, but I have to ask. He's a sophomore, 6'3", runs like a gazelle, has great hands, can play defense. Could this be Miami's remedy for not getting Jeremiah Smith, a couple of recruiting cycles earlier, because he's kind of looking like that kind of a player, at least from what I saw in the highlights, and just the fact that he's kind of like bigger than most guys his age anyway.
Yeah. So here's my thing. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I will say, though, I think Jeremiah was the more explosive athlete between the two. But, I mean, if you had to put a gun to my head and say, oh, does that mean you don't want him? No. Like, I would absolutely take Bryson Wright in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Jeremiah was a little bit better of the prospect of the two. But, damn, Bryson Wright, I mean, that kid, he catches everything. I've seen him play live. He catches everything in his vicinity. Strong hands as well. It's not just always the circus catches. It's just consistency as well. So I think just when I say the word like possession receiver, people say, what the hell? What do you mean possession receiver? But like an elite possession receiver.
He got like 10-inch hands too, don't
he? Yeah. He's a big kid.
He's a big kid already.
He's a really big kid. And I'm just saying, it's like, I mean, he catches everything. It doesn't matter the situation. He'll catch it all. And he's fast too. He's got breakaway speed. And I mean, so you look at Jeremiah when he was about that age, I see some of the similarities, but yeah, like I agree with Geo. Like Jeremiah was a generational receiver. My buddy Joe, who coached at West End where I work, but he won 6 state championships at Central, who's seen everybody you could think of, said that's the best wide receiver he ever saw coming out of high school. He's talking about Jeremiah Smith, so it's saying a lot. But I'm just saying, the reason why I asked that question is like, this might have missed out on him. Could this be the next version of Jeremiah Smith? That's all I was really trying to ask, in general.
I wouldn't say one for one, but comparable to like that type of impact, like having that big X receiver. Yeah, but I hate to do this.
Jeremiah Smith is 101.
I hate to do this because it's unfair to the kid that's on the roster right now, but even though he's not a recruit anymore, but if Joshua Moore continues on the path he's been on since spring, I think it's going to be really eye-opening for people this year.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he showed a lot of promise his freshman year, so I'm really excited to see him this year. All right, as well. So we'll see how that goes.
We talked a while, and I told Will from a while back the position group that I'm most excited about is that wide receiver room.
Oh, yeah.
When you look at again, what I don't know what other program could boast. Listen, if I'm not mistaken, 4 different receiving leaders from 4 different teams last year. You're talking about Tony, Barkate, Mandrevius Jacobs, and Cam Vaughn. Cam Vaughn and Mandrevius Jacobs led their teams in receiving. So did Barkate, so did Tony. And those are going to be the guys that are going to be leading that room. And then you add to that Moore, and then you add to that Upshaw. You add to that, all the talent that they brought in terms of the new recruits and everything like that. I don't understand how there's a better receiving room in the country, bar none. Ohio State, USC, because I know they're loaded, right? So on and so forth. You got a lot of, Oregon, Texas A&M. Like, I get it. But as a room, I don't see how you got a better room anywhere in the country. When you see the way the room is staggered, right? The way they're layered and everything like that, your top end talent, so on and so forth. I don't see how there's a better receiving room in the entire country, personally. So,
yeah, as a collective, no, I don't see it either. I don't see how anybody can even say that. Loaded. It's absolutely loaded.
They got all the body types. There's speed. There's possession. I mean, I don't see how there's a better receiving room.
Only team in the country to have 2 receivers that went over 1,000 yards, being on the same team coming into the season. So I'm with you guys. Yeah. Anyone sleeping on Miami's receiver room is crazy. Proof of concept's already there.
Yeah. And you see, Cam Vaughn and Mandrevius Jacobs with better quarterback play, what those guys could have done.
Oh yeah.
What those guys could have done, because none of them got a good quarterback play last year. And for all the Lenora Sellers talk, the guy was not great last year. Now, granted, the O-line wasn't good in the whole deal. I get it. But even when he had time to throw, he was not good. Right? So again, those guys with better quarterback play, I think they're gonna open up some they're gonna open up some eyes, and they're gonna make people realize how good they really are.
Right. Well, moving on to the fun portion of the conversation. it's time to see what you guys are chatting about and what the conversation is. A lot of Juan Manuel, guys. Okay, so just bear with me, everybody. So the first thing I want to go over is Miami a free agent? I guess he's referring to the whole idea of us either SEC or Big Ten. So simple, yes or no. I'll go around the panel, right? In general, starting first with John. Yes or no? Is Miami a free agent?
I think so.
Okay, Q.
I mean, I'm gonna say. I mean, I'm not sure I understand the question necessarily. I mean, what do we?
Because the whole idea, because basically, let's be honest with you, we're talking about if Miami's going either Big Ten or SEC, because it looks, the at least the division that we're all going with. That's the SEC gate.
As in, are they staying in the ACC? Absolutely not. It's a matter of when, right? So I guess if that's the context, then I would say
that's the context.
They're a free agent. Yeah.
Right. Geo.
2029, 2030. I'm looking forward to it. So yes, Big Ten.
Yeah. All right. Fresh as a fixation.
Are you calling it? You calling it, Geo? You're calling 29.
Academics wise, it makes the most sense too.
Okay.
All right.
2029 Big Ten. Right. Put that on paper. All right. Fresh loves his Beyonce and Jay-Z. Wants them to really be donors. As well. Let's see. We are SEC already. I guess it means body type, size, and so on. Fresh wants us in the Big Ten. He's part of the 80% I was talking about earlier. Will, is poaching legal? I changed. That's why I changed. I wanted to change the semantics of it, but I guess in the college football term, in a way, yes. Okay, in general. My boy Lou from Dade, the host of the SoFlo podcast with his wife Ashley. Okay, great people, great content. They cover Miami Hurricanes, Miami Heat, and Miami Dolphins, amongst other sports. All right, as well. Please like and subscribe and share Lou's channel. Let's see. Juan Manuel, Florida is very jealous of their family and cousins dating pool be contaminated by strangers. Okay. What do you think about that, John? About the Miami talent versus the Gainesville talent. What do you think about that?
I think across the board, our talent is superior, whether you're talking football, basketball, or other things. We'll just leave it at that.
Or the streets.
like you said once, you could throw a rock in Publix, bro, and find something.
Dude, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, man.
It's ridiculous.
At any hour of the day, too.
It does not matter. It does not matter. It's ridiculous.
All right, Wisconsin doesn't like us. That's absolutely true. Wisconsin hates our guts. Right, in general. Okay, let's see. Juan Manuel. Geo, who are the Canes or baby Canes you hear buzz on? Is it Marquise Lightfoot? He has done the impossible and reached 240. LS Barrier, real 240, not 231, listed as 240. I think he's thinking of like WWE references, like Andre the Giant being 7'4", who was actually 7 feet tall. So is he a legit 240, 235? Actually, I heard 235, not 240, but Geo, is he 235?
Pretty darn close to 240. Have you guys seen the recent pictures of this kid?
Yep.
I have this group chat I've had for years on X, and some of the responses people said, they were like, damn, is this what Cyrus Moss would have been if he took things more serious at Miami? Like the thought process of that. Marquise Lightfoot is totally bought in at Miami. But to his other question, though, on baby Canes, I'm hearing good things about one in particular I'm going to single out, Joel Irvin. The coaches, they're really excited about him. I don't know if it's this year, but they're really excited about what he can be.
Yeah, I've been hearing good things about him too. You're not the only one.
True freshman, right?
Yeah.
Joe Irvin?
Yeah. All right. Showing next comment. This is for John and Q. This year seemed different the past 2 years. Why do you think that? I have John answer that first, and then we'll go with Q.
This year seems different just because it seems like the construction of the roster is complete, and it feels like we can and should make a run at a national title. Whereas the last 2 years, it's will we make the playoffs? Will the defense and the offense be good at the same time? Now it's like all those questions are pretty much answered. We have proof of concept. We've won some playoff games, some big bowl games. They can't make fun of us for not having won a bowl game anymore because we put a lot of things to rest. The only thing missing is the ACC championship, which I would like to add that trophy to the case this year. But aside from that, I think, yeah, ACC championship should be like automatic. There should be no excuses for not winning it. And yeah, my expectation is to be playing in Vegas in January. That's plain and simple. That's how I feel. It's different from the last 2 years.
Yeah. Q.
Man, piggyback a little bit off what John is saying, man. I think it is different based on I just don't know where, where's the weakness, right? Like where are their questions? With Cam Ward's year, I think everybody knew, the defense that there were big time question marks on defense, right? And that ended up being the case. You look at last year, the questions surrounding Carson Beck when he came in, right? I mean, obviously he wasn't there for spring. Is his elbow going to be healthy? Are the receivers, going to be good enough, so on and so forth. And so, you're looking at it now, and again, the tight end room, I guess on offense would be the only room that I question. I think there's talent. I think there's depth. I just don't think there's a whole bunch of experience or production to this point. But I think there is talent there, right? When Lofton, you've got Mueller, right, so on and so forth. So I think you have you've got bodies there that I think if they live up to the billing, I think you can have something there, right? And then you look on defense, the linebackers, right? That room I think would be the weakest of the three, and I'm not super concerned given what we've got on the D line, given what we've got on the back end, at corner and at safety. Like the linebackers don't really, the lack of any, top end talent at linebacker, just doesn't really worry me, right? I think you're gonna have enough given health with, with Chase Smith and Mo Toure. You'd like to see Kevin Wiley or not Kevin Wiley. What's Wiley's first name? Kellen. Excuse me. You'd like to see Kellen Wiley kind of take that step and become what people have predicted that he can become. You got to love the size, right, and the whole deal. But again, to answer the question, there again, and piggyback on what John said, I don't see where the weakness is on this team, right? And even the spots that aren't necessarily strong, tight end and linebacker, those spots don't worry me. So again, you got to like what you have with Mensa. The receiver room is elite. The running back room is elite. The O line is going to be, I think, at worst, a really good offensive line. The D line is great. The DBs are great. I'm just not worried about anything, to be totally honest with you. So for that reason, I would say it's different than the last 2 years. And I think even with the weaknesses that they had last year, we went to the title game. I mean, what's going to happen this year? And I know that we're not the only team that got better, but you look at where they're really good, and I just think they can match up with anybody at any position on the field. So yeah, I would say it is different.
All right, before we move on to the next comment, this is for the panel. Okay, it's just a simple Messi, Ronaldo. All right. Okay, so for John, who's the GOAT, Messi or Ronaldo?
I'm going to preface this by saying I do not in any way have enough soccer knowledge to answer this intelligently, but I'm going to try to answer it. This to me is like Kobe, LeBron in their heyday. Flip a coin. I'm going to say Messi. Again, flipping a coin just because, he's playing down here in South Florida, and, I've seen a little bit more tape and highlights of him. Although I know they're both amazing, I'm going to say Messi.
Q?
Somebody who grew up playing soccer, still watches it regularly, a huge fan. I've always been more of a Ronaldo fan. I think when you're looking at it and comparing the skill set, obviously the numbers are super similar in terms of, goals, assists, right, trophies won, and the whole deal. But you look at the way Ronaldo scores, right? He's lethal with the ball in the air. He's lethal with both feet, right and left. I think he's a more complete player. I get the Messi hype, right? Now he has a World Cup under his belt, so the moment that happened, it elevated him. And everybody just kind of assumes that he's the GOAT. I disagree with that, and I think Ronaldo's a better player.
Okay, Gio?
For me, this is tough. So I think the game, football, has never seen a striker like Cristiano Ronaldo But if I had to talk purely like from a skill standpoint, like as a player, like all the little things that he does, Messi for me. My pick is Messi, but it's not this like vast difference that some people will try to portray, that they say, oh no, Messi's way better than Ronaldo. Ronaldo sucks. No, Ronaldo has always been a really good player. So I think he definitely deserves his flowers still at the end of the day. I never understand why people do this thing where like, oh, one sucks and one's the GOAT. Like, yeah. I don't think so.
Crazy one and you have to like piss on the other one. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, they're both great. It's really just a matter of what it is that suits you and what it is you like in terms of styles. But
yeah, I'm not pissing on Ronaldo. I know Ronaldo's a legend.
People do. Yeah. No.
But I gotta put Messi over Ronaldo. That's just me. Based upon he's still doing it. He's still doing it. He's had a great World Cup. While you've seen a bit of a drop off from Ronaldo. So that's my reasoning as well. So that's the thing. I gotta put Messi, but I will never. That's like you have Michael Jordan and you piss on Magic, and stuff like that. They're Magic's an elite player. Overall, you don't take nothing away from Magic just because Jordan's in the picture. So that's the way I feel as well. So, but I put Messi over Ronaldo, right? But I'm not gonna be like it's like a civil war. Like I've seen on YouTube, like, no man, you gotta like Ronaldo better. It's like, no Messi, no man, they're both good players, but I have to like Messi more. I think he's the GOAT. It's just one of those. No man, you can't. Shut up. Okay, all right. In general, okay. So Geo, I don't want to put you on the spot there, but I think this is funny. Juan Manuel says that Asari Charles deserves playing time. Okay, now describe deserve this in the realm of this context. Okay, when you have all these people. So Gio, how do you feel about Asari Charles getting on the field this season?
Juan Manuel, I love you, my man. You're always super supportive. But in Mario Cristobal's program, there is no one that deserves playing time. You have to earn it. That is the way it works. But I will say, as I've been saying this for a long time now, Asari Charles already is, as a true freshman, one of the strongest guys in that defensive end room. He's been described as an absolute weight room warrior. Now, when it comes to like as a pass rusher and everything, he really made a big jump his senior year in high school compared to the junior tape. I think it's going to be tough for him to get a lot of snaps, because when I look at that defensive end room, I think, potentially your starters being Armando Blunt, Damon Wilson, and Marquise Lightfoot's going to factor in there too. Then you got Hayden Lowe as well, who was in the plans for last year. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Herbert Scroggins has had a really good offseason. Like, he looks like a different player physically from last year. I don't know how many people have seen Scroggins in person, but he's definitely put on like what I like to call efficient weight, not bad weight, good weight. And I mean, I can continue on, but Booker Pickett's another guy that'll factor in somewhere in there as well. So that room is very deep. I think it's very tough for him to get like massive snaps as a true freshman. Like, he'd have to extremely stand out. And especially the fact you have Hayden Lowe like returning this year and everything, I think that kind of minimizes those chances.
Okay. Another question for Gio coming from Juan. Gio's Lawson going to be the next, Jaden Lawson will be the next Greg Rousseau 2.0, 6'4", 225 at 16. What he performed, how's this kid a 3-star?
Yeah, so Javon Dawson, I think he's talking about, from Santa Lucia's community. Same high school as Zach McLeod and the great Vince Wilfork himself as well. He won't stay a 3-star. I know that for absolute fact. I've spoken to some people I'm still friends with from the recruiting sites as well. That won't stick for a long time. He will be a 4-star at minimum. Now, in terms of how Miami feels about him, they feel like they got an absolute steal. That like they can't believe what this kid is at the age he is right now. The fact is, he could truthfully be a 2028 kid because of his age. The measurables obviously very important, and he's starting to peak as a player. He's not even anywhere close to as good as he could really be.
Okay. All right. This is for the panel. Oh, sorry about that. Q, want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, man, the offer list tells you that Miami wasn't the only one that saw something in him and that valued him, right? Because I heard it was a Georgia, Texas, so on and so forth. Like the offer list was ridiculous, right? So this kid, may have been kind of under the radar, as it relates to to a section, of people either who do content or whatever, but to the schools whose job it is to recruit. He wasn't somebody who was a surprise to them. Like, they knew who this kid was, and that's why he had the offer list that he had.
Yeah. All right, so this question is for the panel. Who is to blame for Miami's tight end situation in the last 12 months? Can we put him in an 80s Cadillac trunk and throw in the Everglades for bringing number 87 Ballman to Miami? I think there's a lot of factors that played into the Miami's tight end room. For starters, Jackson Carver got hurt, supposedly phenomenal athlete. Saw some flashes of spring. That's number one. Number two, I think that losing Riley Williams was a lot bigger than people think. I know he did nothing at the other school he went to, but he showed flashes when Cam Ward was here. He was big, could catch passes, could block as well, inline in the flex position as well. So I think that's a factor that people forget. And then you had Elijah Lofton, who's a little undersized for being a tight end, was hurt a bit, and you're relying on Bauman. And I was hearing yesterday on your show, Gio, a lot of people felt that Luka Gilbert should be given a better shot at a better opportunity than Alex Bauman. So what do you guys think? I want to start first with John about the tight end position, and then we'll go with Q, then we'll finish up with Gio.
As far as who's responsible, I don't think you can blame any one person. I totally forgot Riley Williams was on the team until you mentioned him. Yeah. Losing him was big. That would have been nice experience, depth you could have had. A guy who at one point was not only a 4-star tight end, a very highly rated 4-star tight end. I was very excited when we got him. I thought that 2025 would have been the year that he'd pop at least a little bit, maybe get like 400 or 500 yards, be a good blocker on the edge. Because we were really missing that on the outside, just in that Notre Dame game alone, there were some short yardage situations that either Bauman or Lofton kind of whiffed on a block a little bit, and guys would come in off the edge on a blitz and cut the run short. If that block is hit, we get a first down and the drive keeps going. I think early in the game, actually, when we muffed that field goal to start the game against Notre Dame, it shouldn't have even come to that. We should have gotten that first down and the drive should have kept going. That happened a lot throughout the season. Elijah Lofton, we all know, was really banged up. I am an Elijah Lofton believer. If he's healthy, I think he's a weapon. I think his unusual size for the position and his quickness, I think, is a mismatched nightmare. He's just got to trim down and get in shape, get healthy. And I think he's going to be a weapon. I honestly do. And also the way he blocked as a freshman, if you watch it, because of his lack of size, he just totally gives up his body when he blocks. I think it caught up with him, and that's why he got banged up. Then there's Bauman. We all know his struggles. Carver got hurt. Luka Gilbert was way too young. He wasn't quite ready, even though he showed a flash here and there. Not quite ready. So I just think it was a bad situation all around with the injuries and just guys weren't quite ready yet. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Also, you were coming off just losing Elijah Arroyo, so that right there is tough to replace. And on top of that, you have an offense with Shannon Dawson that, unless he has an amazing tight end, let's be honest, he's not really focused on the tight end. I think we have a big enough sample size to see that. He's more slot receiver focused and running back focused. But, we'll see. Again, with a healthy Elijah, I think he could do some damage in the red zone.
Yeah, cute.
Yeah, I'm of the thought that there's not just one person to blame, right? I think something I know that we haven't mentioned is I remember reading before that maybe and maybe Gio might know the whole Cody Woodhill deal. I know that he was a guy who was well liked. I think he was a guy he was a good recruiter, based on what he brought in while he was here, but maybe not necessarily helping these guys develop and get to maybe where they need to be. Don't know if you would push back on that or how much you know or don't know about that. I think maybe that's somewhere you start. You replace him with a guy like Mike Beatty now, bringing him over from Army, right? You got your new tight ends coach there, so hopefully that helps. I think Elijah Lofton. Listen, again, I get what he was coming out of high school. I just think physically, I just don't know that he's built to be a full-time tight end. And again, maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm not sure, but I just physically, I look at him and just the way he's built. He's definitely not traditional in terms of tight end. I think a weapon, yes. a traditional tight end. I just don't see him being that full time. Last year, again, man, I'm like John mentioned, I guess the injuries, man, but he had some bad drops. He had some missed blocks. I mean, again, now I don't know what a different set of eyes in that room, with the new tight ends coach and everything looks like, with him healthy, what that looks like. But again, like I mentioned before, if you're looking at that room, I think, and me, because me and Will always talk about it, right? Every room you look at, talent, depth, experience. I think there's talent there. I think there's depth. I just don't think there's much experience, right? But I think you have talent and depth to work with. I think out of all those guys, I find it hard to believe that you're not going to be able to find me 2 tight ends among that group that are going to be, functional at the very least, who can be a threat when you put them on the field. I find that hard to believe. We'll see what Jackson Carver gives you now that he's back from injury. But if I'm looking at that collective and what those guys, where those guys were ranked and everything like that, I have to believe that you can find me a couple guys on there that, given health, can be at least a threat at the position, right? So, again, we'll see. I think there are some factors there, right? You lose a Riley Williams who you didn't expect. You lose a Jackson Carver who looked like he was kind of on a good trajectory. Elijah Lofton being injured and not really living up to the hype. Luka Gilbert was young. Bauman is whatever. So I think, again, it's not just one thing or one person to blame. I think it's a kind of a collection of things. But again, if I'm looking at that room, I got to believe that there's enough talent and depth in that room that you can find a couple guys who are going to be a dependable part of this offense.
Yeah. Geo.
Yes. So my answer is simple as this. I think you can't pinpoint it on one specific coach or person because it's levels to the system, basically, that decisions come from multiple levels and whatnot. Obviously, you did see that the tight end coach was relieved of his duties. That was a part of it as well. It wasn't the 100% scope of it, though. Now, funny enough that we're talking about this because I spoke about this as a segment, actually, on the show with Brett on Canesville TV last night. But it boils down to personnel last year as well, in my opinion. And I love that you guys brought up Riley Williams because that was an oversight by me yesterday, actually. That was a big loss. Even though he didn't have major production at his next school, I do wish that Riley Williams did not get homesick. I wish that he stayed because that would have been valuable experience to have, because I also tend to have this belief when it comes to the transfer portal in itself. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword at times, especially when you grab a guy from the G5 or what they're now calling the G6. When you grab some of those guys can play at the P4 level. Some of those guys, you find out when they get to the P4 level, they can't hang. And I think that was the case when it came to Alex Bauman, that, yeah, it went well for him when he played in the G5. He was actually Darian Mensah's tight end for a year.
Yeah.
He was at Tulane before he went to Duke last year. And he had a phenomenal year with Darian Mensah. But I do think there are those cases of guys that they can't play at that Power 4 level. And I think that was very evident with Bauman. And even speaking to people after like the pro day performance and everything, and seeing a Miami tight end running over a 5-second 40, that was kind of alarming in itself. But it's also like, who signed off on that? Like who, and really at the end of the day, that tight end coach, Cody Woodhill, he was very big into recruiting. He was actively like evaluating those guys and everything. Obviously, other approvals have to happen and whatnot. But long story short of that, the personnel was not there because you also had Jackson Carver, who was hurt, who there was some hope that maybe he would become a somewhat level solid player last year. Unfortunately, torn ACL, just came back from it in the middle of the spring this year. Hopefully, that recovery continues well. You have all these other guys returning like Lofton and Gilbert. I am one of those people that I think Luka Gilbert got better as the year went on. At least I think he was a serviceable blocker, not like dynamite yet, but has the skills to be a great blocker as an inline tight end. But the other thing too, I'm with John on the sentiment about Elijah Lofton, that I think Elijah Lofton was not being used right as well. And I think, unfortunately, that boils down to personnel and experience, that he was kind of put in that tough spot where, yes, he was also banged up, but at the same time, he's a guy that should be flexing out, should be coming out of the backfield. You saw that his freshman year when Elijah Arroyo was here and when we had Cam McCormick and everything, a healthier tight end room, a room that had actual personnel that you could put out on the field. I hope Miami reaches that this year. I think they have a chance to. I don't know if exact production like Arroyo, but Elijah Lofton being put in better situations that fit him for the player that he is, because I am with John that I think he can be a very productive player in the correct situations. But last thing I'll mention, loved what I saw physically from Gavin Mueller, but I want to see a little more consistency as a receiver in fall camp. I am buying some early stock into a guy like Israel Briggs, though. To me, he's big and he moves different than the rest of the guys in that room.
Yeah, I mean, like Elijah Loftus showed promise. So let's hope that he has a bounce back year. That's all I really got to say. But there's a lot of promise. And he's a good athlete as well. All right, so let's get into the comments here. Okay, we need the tight end that fits the best fit for us. I wouldn't say hater. I would say skeptic. I know I went earlier. I said yes, but I really don't mean that. I was joking around. I would say skeptic. That's pretty much where I'm at with Myson Johnson Cook. We need Fresh says we need a number 1 tight end and or a number 2 tight end. Fresh says we need Cook and keep Ty. That'd be nice, actually. Okay, Q and Will have beef with Cook too. So we have. He thinks that
I got no beef, bro. Hey, bring him in. If the background checks out, the personalities, where it needs to be. Again, I'm not saying no to that guy. That guy's a stud, man. He's a tank. Bring that dude in, man. Yeah. I'm not opposed to it at all.
Yeah. What's going on with tight end recruiting? Virginia Tech has 2 top tight ends in this class. I still think that's a marathon, bud. We'll see how that happens as well. We'll see. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. We need him. It's about MJC. He has speed and good size. Fresh really likes Myson Johnson Cook. I just hope we don't go after Matthews anymore. I think that ship has sailed. Gio, that ship has sailed, right?
They're not optimistic about it.
Yeah.
We'll see, but they're not optimistic about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Let's see. We need Cook. Get him. Just kidding. I don't know. We need a tight end. Let's see. Will would have picked Auburn too with that money. No, buddy. I've been wearing Canes gear since I was 7 years old, man. I would be in Miami Hurricane, whatever Auburn offered me, bro. I'm telling you that right now. I could honestly, sincerely say that I would not be putting on an Auburn uniform if I had a chance to be a Miami Hurricane in the NIL era. I'm just telling you. Okay. Let's see. Jose Gonzalez, Frank Gore, Fresh tight end. Notre Dame wants what we want. Yes, they always do. Bye, Notre Dame. Let's see. Another panel question. Who's responsible? Okay, no, we already talked about that. Okay, this is from Rock and Rant. It's that wonderful time of the year when Gators get ranked in the ESPN FPI Feinbaum Predictive Index to try to troll Canes after losing back-to-back years and turning to G6 Johnny. Enjoy. I totally agree. Gator fans are very, very, very delusional. I think them and the Ohio State fan base are the most obnoxious. Notre Dame is also there as well. They were a pain in the ass last season for quite a bit when it came to college football selection committee. Rock and Rant loves Juan Manuel. Miami take over Jacksonville. Totally agree. Okay. Having a conversation there. Okay. So Blue Green Street. Why did Miami switch to Ticketmaster? I use a Game Time anyway. I don't even go through Ticketmaster. Do you guys use Ticketmaster? You guys use Game Time or the other ones?
I've gone to Game Time here over the last couple seasons, man.
Yeah, me too. What about you, John?
Super easy.
Yeah.
Same.
Gio?
Yeah.
I do the media rounds mostly, but when I have done tickets way back, Game Time wasn't around. But I will say, I did help out a buddy, and I've had good feedback. I would say in terms of Game Time as well.
Yeah, I said it's simple, and they give you all your fees up front. They don't sugarcoat it. I used to use StubHub.
Yeah, dude, StubHub drills you with fees, though, bro. Like
I know, but that was back in the day.
Yeah.
That was back in the day. I used to use StubHub before. But Ticketmaster's worse, man.
A couple of years ago, it was only Ticketmaster and StubHub. Now with Game Time and stuff there, man. I mean, you got TickPick, and you got like there's a lot of different apps. It's not only Ticketmaster and StubHub now, but my go-to is Game Time now.
Yeah, agree. I totally agree. Game Time is mine too. Sears better than Travis Hunter. Will John Q? I think he is. We'll see, man. I think he's a better athlete, to be frank with you. And that's saying a lot. I think Travis Hunter was a beast as well. John, what do you think? Do you think Sears is better than Travis Hunter coming out of high school?
I gotta go in a couple minutes, so this will be my last one.
Okay.
Sears, I mean, the potential's there for sure. I mean, Travis Hunter the number one recruit in the country when he was coming out? I think so, right? He was gonna go to Florida State and then he flipped. Yeah, they're kind of like neck and neck there as far as their recruiting, their high school trajectory. So he could be. It's too early to tell. I don't like to compare a guy that hasn't stepped on the college field yet to a guy who's a legend already. But are they on the same trajectory? Yes. So it's possible.
I think to me, at this point, if you're comparing them to this point in high school, let's say, I think when you're looking at Amir Sears compared to Travis Hunter, Amir Sears he's a bigger dude, right? So I think the measurables favor Amir Sears, and I think he's a more accomplished. And Travis Hunter was really good at wide receiver in high school. He was really good. But I think it seems like to me, as good as Travis Hunter was, Amir Sears is kind of on this trajectory where, I think, depending on how this, how these next couple seasons go, again, I think you're going to be able to. It's not going to be asinine to make that comparison, after next season. Let's say. I think it's going to be a very valid comparison. And you're really going to be able to make the argument that Amir Sears is better coming out of high school, at least, than Travis Hunter was.
Gio, you're shaking your head. You're nodding your head. Do you agree with Q?
Yeah. Very simple for me. I think, like Q said, Sears has bigger stature, like physically, than Travis did at the same time. I do think Sears is a little bit more of the established cornerback of the two at the same stage of their careers. As going into your junior season and everything. So we'll see how it plays out over the years, but I do think Sears is on track to potentially finish as a number one overall prospect like Hunter did as well.
Okay. No, Juan doesn't mean he's slow. I know what you're exactly talking about. Jeremiah is another one from Juan Manuel. Oh, I'm sorry about that. But before we go, you want to plug yourself a little bit?
Yep, Cafecito Cane's on YouTube, Cafecito_N_Cane on Twitter, X. Go follow me on there. I going back to do my weekly shows on the YouTube channel. I do a lot of stuff with You Heard with Ben and Joe and all those guys. So yeah, catch me on there.
Hey, John, thank you so much for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all your takes.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, so Jeremiah Smith, best prospect of all time. I think Randy Moss, Andre Johnson, Julio Jones, and Calvin Johnson are his level. Jamal Chase can rival Jeremiah Smith. Gio, what do you think about that comment from Juan Manuel?
All time.
All are really good prospects. It's kind of hard to say an all-time prospect, but man, I will say one thing. Willie Williams was tremendous prospect himself, like one of those all-time greats if you watch as a high school player. Just didn't happen at the college level. There's so many different guys you could say. So I always think it's like people speaking in like kind of that like hyperbole when they're talking about like all-time prospect and everything. But Jeremiah Smith, at least for like his era, like his time, those few years in between, definitely generational for his era.
Yeah. I think a recency bias, right? I mean, again, Jeremiah Smith is still in college, right? I mean, he just came out of high school, 3 years ago, and so I think it's really easy. And then on top of that, right, when you think of those guys from years past, right? Social media wasn't around. The recruiting sites aren't what they are now. The 7-on-7 circuits and this and that. Right? So the coverage was just so different, right?
Yeah.
That you're looking at it, You're looking at when Miami landed DJ from California, right? When at that time he was the number one, recruit in the country, right? And people were like, he's generational and he's, so on and so forth, right? And so again, man, I think those.
John Madden said DJ Williams could have played in the NFL straight out of high school.
Yeah. I remember that. So again, you're looking around, and those claims end up getting made every, not every year, but every, seems like every 5-6 years, right? He's the greatest recruit of all time. And, it's, again, I get it. I get the excitement and the whole deal, But again, I will say, going back to when you look at that previous message, listen, Jeremiah Smith was a more highly recruited guy than every one of those dudes that was on that list. Now, remains to be seen, because obviously those guys are all Hall of Famers. Is Jeremiah Smith going to become that? But when you're looking at what they were coming out of high school, Jeremiah Smith was definitely a more highly recruited player than every one of those guys was. So there's that, right? Doesn't mean he's going to be elite in the NFL. It doesn't mean he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But again, in terms of coming out of high school, Jeremiah Smith was a more highly recruited player than any one of those guys on that list that was there with him. So there is that.
All right. Juan Manuel says, damn, John is a professional answer. Let's see. Mel, nice hearing from you. CANES Cane, thank you. Q straight to the point. Let's see. Q always gives you straight up answer. Ronaldo, best of all time. That's okay, Hassan. That's your perspective. All right. Let's see. Mel with CR7. Let's see. Of course, Ronaldo. You know, popular with the ladies. I'll say that as well. Pele was. Juan's going way back here. Kick Geo out. Kick Will out. No, Juan. No. You know you love us way too much. Let's see. Lou Cristobal did. Miami went all. Let's see. Go. Let me see. Let's see. G6 sounds gangsta like NWA. Okay. I was stirring. There we go. We need a badass portal tight end that's simple. Back from the grave. Let's see. Yes, they do. Why didn't they sign up for another round of H&H? Chomp. Down go Canes. Away game tickets through Miami Ticketmaster site. Young man, have to go earn it. Thank you, John. Let's see. Lawrence Taylor all time. Andre Johnson. Could have really been very close to Randy Moss if he had a good or decent quarterback in his career. He never had one. They were all scrubs. Matt Schaub made a Pro Bowl, though, Howard. Matt Schaub did, and I know for a fact because I was at that Pro Bowl when they connected for a touchdown pass. You can say Andre made Matt, but Matt did make a Pro Bowl with that connection.
Matt Schaub was never elite. Matt Schaub was not a scrub.
No, he wasn't. And I remember at that Pro Bowl game, he threw a touchdown pass to Andre Johnson. Go ahead, Gio.
Matt Schaub was a good player.
He was a good player. He just never was like elite of the elite.
Elite. Absolutely. But nobody's ever gonna confuse that guy for being elite, but he was a steady, a very good quarterback in the NFL for years.
I think what's funny about it when it comes to a guy like Matt Schaub, every time I think I hear the name, I always think of like, man, I remember that time when he was Michael Vick's backup.
Exactly. He was backup in Atlanta. Huh?
Yeah, sure. So. All right. Let's see. Number one of all time. Ooh, that's a tough one. It's a big list. Do you guys have a number one Cane of all time?
Number one Cane?
Yeah. I'm assuming that's what he's asking. Back from the grave.
Many different directions, but I mean, influence-wise, Michael Irvin or Ray Lewis, guys like that just have so much influence.
Absolutely.
Ed Reed. Yeah.
I will go with Mike, if anything.
Yeah.
It'll be mine. Michael Irvin will be mine. Okay, let's see. Frank Gore played high school football. Player I've ever played against and seen live. Okay, Willie was good, but Willie was always played with good teams. They were both great. Smith should have made a better decision. Came to the U. Now he's sad with a red sweater vest on. I have to say one thing about Jeremiah Smith. At least he's loyal, man. He could have easily won his title. He could have easily came over here, but he decided to stick with the school that made give him the national championship. So, but
I would push back on that. He's sad.
Yeah.
You know, he's elite. He's won a national title. He's getting paid a hell of a amount of money to be there. And I bet you decent money he doesn't wear sweater vests.
Yeah. All right, Matt Schwab sucks. Howard Stern pushing back on us. Matthew was nothing if he didn't have Andre Johnson. We'd never known that dude's name. He sucked. I'm like, listen, it's a team sport. You know, like again, he wasn't elite. You know, listen, a lot of Dan Marino haters used to say the same thing about Mark Clayton and Mark Duper. Marino did the same thing with Irving Fryer, right, as well, Aronde Gadsden and Mark Ingram. So, I mean, he still put up big numbers with those guys at the wide receiver position. So, not saying Matt Schaub is Dan Marino. I'm just saying that's a team sport. And Matt Schaub was not a scrub. I mean, he wasn't Dan Marino. He wasn't Joe Montana. He wasn't Steve Young. But he was not a scrub. Like, he definitely wasn't a scrub. Exactly. Let's see. Sean Taylor, 26. That's Juan's guy. Howard Stern, you played against Frank Gore. You played. That is something. I take back some of the stuff I said that was bad about you, Chris Brown. Geo Cane, Irvin was voted best Cane of all time. Yeah, man. All right, let's see. How good was Matt Shaw without Andre Johnson? Just like players that play with LeBron James, when they leave James, they suck. Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but I don't think Matt Shaw was bad. I'll be very honest with you. I don't think he was bad.
Yeah, no, I don't think Matt Shaw was a bad player. I think just like if you think of like the standard of like elite quarterbacks, like obviously not elite, but he wasn't terrible. There's definitely been much worse quarterbacks than Matt Shaw.
Yeah,
like
he was good.
The quarterback before him, David Carr, who was like a big time draft pick and everything coming out of Fresno State. It didn't work out.
Pick overall.
Yeah,
Matt Shaw was a better NFL quarterback than damn David Carr was.
Yeah.
Period.
Totally.
His younger brother ended up being the better NFL player.
Exactly. Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%.
No, absolutely. Well, let's see. Hold on. Manzano. Okay, but this will be the last comment. For you guys, who's the most underrated Hurricanes receiver based on talent they had around them, which means they had elite receivers in their room with them? It's a tough one. Underrated? I would say maybe Daryl Jones. Daryl Jones was a pretty good player, and he had Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne, alongside him. So maybe Daryl Jones.
Go back a little bit further. A guy like Horace Copeland that I know doesn't come to mind for a lot of people.
Okay.
Based on again, that year Gino Toretto won the Heisman. His receivers, Lamar Thomas, Horace Copeland, and Kevin Williams. Again, I think to me, a guy like Horace Copeland comes to mind. He's not a super popular name if you didn't follow him like super closely, but I think a guy who's never really gotten a lot of shine. But I think he kind of comes to mind to me, based on what he did, how he contributed to that team, and Gino Toretto winning a Heisman. Horace Copeland to me is at the very top of that list of guys who don't get talked about, but who was a really good player.
Yeah, I push back a little bit. I think Horace was pretty popular, at least what I remember. That was early 90s national championship teams. All right. I think Horace, alongside Lamar Thomas, was a pretty popular guy. I remember the big catch. I think it was 4th and 6 at Doak Campbell Stadium, which kept the drive going, that led to eventually the game-winning drive.
I just feel like Kevin Williams got, he was more hyped. Obviously, Lamar Thomas was the number one, right? I don't know. To me, Horace Copeland I don't think he ever got the, and in history, right? When you're talking about, when you look back on like the best receivers ever, right? And I'm sure, again, you can do the same at corner and linebacker, D-tackle on the whole deal, but that's kind of one that comes to mind when you look at the best receivers that have ever played at Miami. Horace Copeland's name never comes, to the forefront of that list.
He's one of the best athletes of any of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That dude was just a gazelle, getting on the field, man. I loved watching him play, man.
I'll go with some underrated names. Tony Gator. Tony Gator was really good.
High school legend, no?
Yeah, Wesley Carroll. I don't think Wesley Carroll ever gets enough flowers for the type of receiver he was. Mind you, I was born in 93, so I've watched all these games on tapes, on YouTube, and everything over the years. Another guy I think was really underrated because he came in that same class with guys like Michael Irvin and Brian Blades and Brett Perriman. Brett Perriman was really good, kind of underrated himself.
Yeah.
Phenomenal NFL career.
Yes.
But the guy I'm getting to is Andre Brown. He was a big-time recruit. Believe he came out of Chicago area and everything. He waited his turn after those guys. He had a really big 1988 season, actually.
Okay. Yeah, dude, there's so many.
Yeah.
Again, you talk about, right there, man, Sonoris Moss, obviously, a guy who was good, but, played in his brother's shadow, landed in the NFL, played for a good while, and then went to do soap operas or something like that. But again, you could look at this, we're looking at the wide receiver position, and again, Geo, and Will, man, like every position throughout the course of time at Miami, you could make the same type of list and pick out a bunch of guys, right, who just don't come to the forefront, but were really good in the time that they were at Miami.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just think like Daryl Jones. Daryl Jones played special teams. And he also played like what would be the slot position. Back they really didn't call it that back in the day. That was it. And but again, you had Reggie Wayne and Santana Moss, so that's why I kind of put that in that category. But I get it. It's a lot of guys. I mean, you could really talk about
Team Chaplin now.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Oh, Daryl Jones.
Daryl Jones.
Yes.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. He is?
I did see that. Yeah. See, I wouldn't see. Hey, Juan Manuel, I know you see. So we're talking underrated, brother. When you talk about like a guy like Yatil Green, Philip Dorsett, those were first round picks, man. So I don't know that I would go.
I like his pick about Chris Jones, though. Chris Jones was
Chris
really
Jones.
good.
Yes, I'll give you Chris Jones, but Yatil Green was injuries, but he was a first round pick.
Yeah.
AC
What's the percent?
Tellison.
AC Tellison.
Wow.
Yeah.
AC Tellison. Holy hell.
He worked at FIU for a while, by the way, guys.
Really?
Yeah,
AC
yeah.
Tellison?
He
Yeah.
worked at FIU,
Wow.
yeah, for a while before Mar even got there. I think it was he had a specific title. I think it was like I don't know, it was head of football operations. He was in athletics, and I remember because Don Strock, was the first head coach at FIU, and I used to work out with the football team. I was a radio guy for FIU, so I used to work out with them. And he brought in a combination of former Canes and former Dolphins. Like Bernard Clark was DC, Leon Searcy was the O-line coach, Tony Nathan was a running backs coach. I'm starstruck, the weight room, like, watching all these guys, as well. Bruce Hardy was a tight ends coach, so he brought a combination. So the FIU football team was a combination of old Canes and old Dolphins, blended into one. So AC Tellin used to work for the FIU and in some form of capacity in athletics.
Wow. I'm actually mind blown. I didn't know that one.
Yeah, he did. He did. Gentlemen, thank you.
A good strategy at the time to bring in those kind of guys, with those local ties and everything, for sure.
Yeah. No, it's
Jesus, bro. Hey, Juan Manuel's been on fire, bro. That dude has been on a fire. Oh,
I don't like making fun of these guys because I still see them as young, but man, I'll never forget Bruce Warner's comment on Locked On Canes about Bauman when he said that anything over the helmet freaks him out. when he throws the football, Donald couldn't hold it anymore. It was really funny. He's like, the ball has to be right here because if it's right up here, he freaks out. He doesn't know what to do with it. So I better never forget that comment from Bruce Warner.
What a letdown! What a letdown that guy was.
Definitely. All right, I gotta close out. I'm 2 hours in, man. Thank you guys for joining. It's always a fun conversation with everybody that's on this panel. Geo, Q, and also John as well. Q, are you back from hiatus or are you doing something really soon?
I'm gonna get together with Russ, man. We'll figure something out. But I mean, I don't really have anything on the books right now. I think as we start to get closer here, we're what's that, 57 days out. I think as we start to get closer to practice opening up, we'll plan something, and I'll get with you, and we'll put something together, man. Hopefully we get Geo on, man. Like get him on and start things the right way, man, when practice starts. So.
Yeah, man, yeah, definitely, bro. You can count me in. Definitely count me in. Geo, what's up, bro? You're like everywhere. Up at Who Wants Smoke, Caneswear, Locked On Canes.
Podcast, I see Geo on.
I see Geo everywhere. I thank you for doing mine, by the way. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah. I'll be on tomorrow actually with Brett in the evening. May have a second show on as well. I'll be on with Michael Yo on, I believe we're recording something on Sunday. Got a whole bunch of things coming on it, and I got a surprise appearance for everyone coming up early portion of next week that I think many people will really enjoy.
Okay. Nice. That's cool. Thank you so much. All right. For all 635 of you in the chat and all of you that commented on tonight's show, Howard Stern, Juan Manuel, everybody, all right, that comments, a lot of you in general. I really appreciate you guys participating. It's a lot of fun. Juan, you're a riot. We always enjoy your Alex Bauman creative commentary. Right, as well. Geo, thank you so much for joining the show. Really appreciate it. Please go follow, subscribe to all his outlets. Yeah, he's the game, man. He's the game. Can I honestly? I've said this in private to my friends, but can I honestly call you the next up and coming Larry Bluestein?
Me?
Yeah, I think you are that dude, man.
Larry's a good friend. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you guys this. Two things I always say about Larry. He's forgotten more football than people will ever remember because he's seen it all. Like we're talking about, Larry has seen guys like Ted Hendricks playing since like in high school and everything. Larry's seen everything. So one of the guys I respect the most in terms of just like talent and everything up close and personal. And the other thing, no one's got at least as far as I know, has the memorabilia collection that Larry has from actual games. Like the programming, they used to give out these pamphlets for like the Dolphins and the Hurricanes games back in the Orange Bowl way back and everything. Oh my God, some of the stuff Larry has shown me, it's incredible. I love Larry. Larry's awesome.
I'd love to see that collection.
I would love to see that too.
I bet that is really impressive.
Reason why I say that, and of course I love Larry. I love what he brings to the table. is because I feel like your knowledge of recruiting and your comment, your interviews, your commentary, and how connected you're with the university. I think that you're kind of in that trajectory as far as the passing of the torch. I would say I'm sure Larry would be like, I hope Larry doesn't get mad at me for saying that. But I mean that I think you're awesome, and I really do think that you bring a lot as far as a fresh take and a fresh face as far as recruiting goes, especially in the digital world, all right, as well. So that's pretty much why I would say that I think that you're kind of like I think you eventually reach that level of Larry.
Yeah, no, Larry's awesome. I always enjoy coming up on his show on QAM and everything. He's a really great guy.
Yeah.
You're doing
but again,
job too, bro, for real. Like, I definitely enjoy you being on the different pods I listen to, man.
Yeah.
With Don,
yeah, I try to spread myself around and everything, hop on different shows and whatnot. Look, I'm friendly. I don't bite people. I'll make any appearance.
Yeah, I think I really appreciate that. My son, by the way, already knows you by name.
Knows me? Really? Wow.
Yeah, he does remember meeting you at CANESville a couple of years ago when you're making an appearance. CANESville, but he sees you. But I force him to watch Locked On Canes, and I force him to watch my show as well because when I drive back from school or when I pick him up from his grandmother's house, in general, and he's like, "Who's that?" And he goes, "That's Dono." "Who's with Dono?" And I said, "That's Geo Milian. Do you know him?" I said, "Yes, I do." And he goes, "Can you call him on the phone?" I said, "No, I'm not going to bother Geo." Yeah, so yeah, man.
Hey,
so yeah,
you prove a point to him. You can call me. We can arrange it.
All right, cool. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, he'll be like, "What? No, that's not real." He'll do one of those. Anyways, enough man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please like and subscribe to all their channels. All right, the I Hate Football podcast with Q, my good friend Q, and Geo Milian. Please subscribe to the CANESville podcast and also subscribe to Who Wants Smoke as well. And just watch him in every single appearance he makes on every single Buddy's podcast. Really appreciate have you here. And Juan, no, okay, no. Stop watching Sopranos, all right?
Juan, bro,
I can't believe he commented.
Relax, bro.
I'm gonna lose it. Oh my god.
Stop it. Stop watching The Sopranos, Juan. All right, in general, it's getting to your head. Okay, there's no Polly Walnuts on this cast. Okay, just to let you know.
My face turned red from that.
Ridiculous, bro.
All right, guys, thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night. God bless. I think the show went off the rails. Okay. Night, guys.
You guys take care, man.
Bye bye.